Sir, can you fix my toy? It was our last gift from Dad. The question cut through the quiet cafe like a whisper that refused to fade. The place itself was small, tucked into the corner of a narrow street where the city seemed to lower its voice out of respect. Soft jazz hummed from hidden speakers, mingling with the scent of roasted coffee and rain-soaked pavement drifting in through the cracked door. The wall clock ticked past 4 with steady indifference, each second echoing in the calm. Elliot Walker sat at his usual table by the window. Same seat. Same black coffee. Same view of rain sliding down glass like time slowly passing him by. He wore a charcoal coat over a crisp white shirt, his tie loosened just enough to suggest a day that had gone on too long. His posture was straight, disciplined, practiced over years of boardrooms and negotiations. But his eyes betrayed him. They were distant, heavy with thoughts he never quite let surface. Every Saturday was the same. He never brought a laptop. Never took calls. He came here not to be seen, but to disappear. The door chimed. A little girl stepped inside, moving carefully as if the world were fragile. She clutched something tightly to her chest. Blonde curls bounced around her face, and her pink sneakers were scuffed at the toes, evidence of a life lived running, not resting. Her coat was too big, sleeves swallowing her hands. She didn't look around. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight to Elliot's table. In her arms was a stuffed bear, old and worn, one ear hanging by a few frayed threads. She looked up at him with eyes far too serious for her age. "Sir," she said softly but firmly, "can you fix my toy? It was our last gift from Dad." She paused, then added with quiet certainty, "Mom says we shouldn't throw away things with love in them." The cafe seemed to hold its breath. Elliot blinked, unsure if he'd heard her correctly. It wasn't the bear that moved him. It was the way she spoke. Not like a child asking for help, but like someone safeguarding something sacred. There was no fear in her eyes. Only hope. Gentle, steady hope. "Mia," a woman's voice called. The girl turned. A woman in her early 30s approached, her presence calm and grounded. Pale gold hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail, her beige coat simple and well-worn. She wore no makeup, yet there was a quiet beauty in her face, shaped by resilience rather than ease. "I'm so sorry," she said to Elliot, her voice warm but embarrassed. She must have wandered off. "I hope she isn't bothering you." "She asked me to fix her bear," Elliot said quietly. The woman glanced at the toy, then at her daughter, her smile softening with something like sadness. "It's been through a lot," she said gently. "But she won't sleep without it." It was from her dad. Mia nodded solemnly. "Before he went to heaven." The woman's hand rested on her daughter's shoulder, fingers tightening just a little. Elliot said nothing for a long moment. Then he slowly extended his hand. "May I?" he asked. Mia looked up at her mother. The woman hesitated only a second before nodding. With the care of someone handing over a secret, Mia placed the bear in Elliot's hands. The fur was worn thin. The stitching frayed. It had been loved hard and often. "I'll fix it," Elliot said. Mia's face lit up, not with childish excitement, but with something deeper. Gratitude. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. Then, almost to herself, "I'll take care of it better this time." Something tightened in Elliot's chest, something long dormant and unfamiliar. "I'll bring it back next week," he said. The woman looked surprised. That's very kind of you. Elliot only nodded. When he stepped back into the gray afternoon, the rain felt different. He wasn't leaving out of routine anymore. He was carrying purpose. That night, Elliot stood alone in his apartment, city lights blinking beyond floor-to-ceiling windows he never bothered to cover. Silence had long been his companion. Tonight, it felt heavier. He placed the bear gently on the dining table, cleared the space, rolled up his sleeves, and opened a small sewing kit he couldn't remember buying. It felt like preparing for surgery. Threading the needle was harder than expected. His hands were used to keyboards and contracts, not repairs like this. Still, he worked carefully, loop by careful loop. With every stitch, something inside him loosened. He remembered boots on hardwood floors. The sound of a door opening late at night. His father, always upright, always unreadable in uniform. Colonel Richard Walker. A man who believed discipline was love and silence was strength. They had never hugged easily. Praise was rare. Expectations were heavy. Elliot remembered being 12, standing at the kitchen counter with a folder of computer science scholarships instead of military academy applications. "I'm not asking you," his father had said. "I know," Elliot replied. "But I'm not asking for permission either." The silence that followed lasted weeks. Even after Elliot graduated from MIT. Even after he built a company and became a millionaire before 25. His father never said he was proud. Only, "Don't let it go to your head." The needle pricked Elliot's finger. He winced, sucked the blood away, and continued. He remembered his 10th birthday. No party. No candles. Just a plain box. Inside was a model airplane. "Don't break it," his father had said. Elliot never did. He lost it years later. He finished the final stitch and folded the bear's ear back into place. It wasn't perfect. But it held. He leaned back, staring at the toy. "I should have kept that plane," he whispered, unsure whether he meant the bear or something else entirely. The following Saturday, Elliot arrived at the cafe at 4 sharp, carrying a small paper bag. Sunlight filtered through the windows, catching dust in the air like flecks of gold. When Mia spotted him, she ran. "You fixed him," she breathed, pulling the bear free and clutching it to her chest. His ears back. She hugged him without warning. Elliot froze, then slowly placed a hand on her back. "You're welcome," he murmured. From that day on, Saturdays changed. Hannah and Mia began sitting with him. Conversations grew. Stories surfaced. Quiet truths were shared. Elliot learned Hannah worked 3 jobs. That she never complained. That her strength was quiet and unyielding. She learned Elliot was wealthy but lonely. Successful but disconnected. They talked about books. About life. About loss. One afternoon, Hannah said, "Things get better because people choose to do the right thing, even when it's hard." The words stayed with him. So did she. When his father tried to tear it apart, Elliot chose differently. When men came with money and threats, Hannah chose love. When fear crept in, they chose each other. Elliot walked away from titles, inheritance, and a name that had never known how to love him back. He chose a small apartment. Soup and grilled cheese. 3 mismatched chairs. He chose being seen. Years later, under soft fairy lights and an open sky, Elliot stood beside Hannah and Mia as a family. And when his father left behind a wooden box and a note that read, "I didn't know how to love you right, but I always did," Elliot finally understood. Love didn't have to be loud. It just had to be real. Thank you for staying with this story to the very end. If it moved you, comforted you, or reminded you that healing is always possible, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support this channel. We share stories about love, loss, and second chances, stories that remind us we're never too broken to be found again. Stay with us. The next story might be the one your heart needs most.